More questions, please. Please.
What would you say has been the hardest aspect of? It seems like Abernathy has a very, not necessarily abstract idea behind it, but a concept that extends a lot more beyond just media. So what would you say is the hardest aspect of kind of trying to mold these ideas that are complex and awakening in a lot of ways into a manner that's able to be received widely?
I don't worry about that at all. I don't worry about molding it at all. For a living, I have the pleasure of saying yes to brothers who get told no every day. People who have a point of view and who have something to say. People whose lived experiences are invalidated by a society that doesn't want anything to do with them. And I get to say yes. So if I never make another dollar with my magazine, it will have brought me so much joy in life. I don't care about what people think about the magazine. I spend no time shaping this broader strategy around what it does. My life has been transformed by not worrying what other people think. Abernathy is for me, and you're welcome to join along. I'm proud of it. I'd love to publish your work. This is a very talented photographer, and we exchanged a few emails before we got here, but it's true. And that's an important part of it, right? We need to see ourselves in certain lights. I can't be in jail and, I have to be a certain way. Brothers need to see us doing well. We need to not associate being black males with gangbanging and stuff like that. The reason these images are perpetuated is because we just don't have better examples. When you do this work and you talk to these brothers and you give them a different way to sustain themselves economically, they change their behaviors. These brothers are in need of connection, they're in need of support, and they need someone to say, I will be disappointed if you don't make it. Because a lot of the failures we're seeing in our academic system and in school are from people who don't care because nobody cares that they're not doing better. There's no expectations. And so we need to hold each other accountable. And we need to say, you can do better. Please.
Okay, so just to rephrase a little bit, I'm thinking of like Spike Lee's at the end of school days where Fishburne's just like running, like screaming, wake up, pretty much. I feel like Abernathy pretty much has the end goal of awakening those brothers, the ones that may not necessarily have activated those aspects of expression and of even processing internally what it is that they're going through. So when I think of how it is that you're molding these ideas, I'm trying to figure out how is it that you're taking these ideas and just to your specific market, not necessarily like trying to change it for like profit or anything like that, but just how is it that you're taking your idea and I guess what qualities or what traits do you have that are like the consistencies within everything that you do in terms of Abernathy that get that message out?
It's a really great question. It's the second great question you've answered in a row. My answer is the same. I spend no time thinking about that. Most of what we've published out of the 315 some odd articles has been contributed. What a life. What a world. It's unbelievable. The quality of the articles that we've published, the people I've connected with through this work. Donzale Abernathy is a friend of mine. She texted me when her brother passed. She lives in Hollywood with her mother, Juanita Abernathy, a matriarch of the movement who is alive. Why aren't we talking to these people? The matriarchs and patriarchs of the civil rights movement are alive. There's a brother named John Lewis, I'm getting lunch with soon. He's an attorney. He marched with Stokely Carmichael. They went to school together. These brothers are alive. So in many ways, what you see on Abernathy is just the tip of the iceberg. What's really going on is this process where I am discovering who I am and the context in which I live and how much there is to be excited about and proud of. And I'm writing more and I'm sharing more and I'm speaking more and I'm on these podcasts and I sit on these panels because I'm the only person who's going to be on these panels that says words like slavery, racism, and discrimination. I sit on these panels with people patting themselves on the back for their diversity work. Give me a break. These tech companies call diversity having like 2 white women in their department. I'm sorry, you gotta be fired. Anyone else? Please.
So what was your concept behind the mag?
There was a quiet question. I'll come back to you, please. Yes.
You spoke about information information from reputable sources, but misinformation, disinformation, manipulated information, actually rewriting history in the present time. I wanted to get to how we talked about archetypes, but more essentially ideals, how ideals were getting in the way of your personal experience and this ideal of man and then black man, and then how the discovery through mindfulness guided you back to you, separate from these ideals, to the kind of what I would call the ideal.
Wow. When I started reading and I started learning what black folks had been through, and I got away from this idea that our history started as slaves. It changed everything. Because we're not actually starting from scratch. It feels like that in the American context because we are a disembodied people. We've been cut from our traditions, our religions, our languages, our practices that connect us to ourselves and our communities and the things that matter to us. And so there's a lot that has been lost along the way. And my contention is that our job as people, as humans, is to rediscover who we already are. And that's not something that will happen automatically. One of the best things I ever did for myself was to permanently delete all of my social media. These companies employ the world's most talented computer scientists to make us addicted to these applications and these programs. And I'm not being a tinfoil hat wearer, I'm a technologist, and I love a good tweet. But I was addicted. We are all addicted. The first thing I woke up in the morning and saw was Black Death on auto repeat. The last thing I went to bed at night seeing was Black Death on auto repeat. Black Twitter is an echo chamber of PTSD.
Right.
That's not healthy.
No.
It is not healthy to expose ourselves to these ideas that we are constantly under siege. We can cultivate a different narrative for how we show up in the world. And part of that involved, for me, rebuilding and disconnecting and writing and seeing what I had to say. Awakening my own divinity, like understanding what the value of my perspective was. Because as I was drowning and crashing and burning and learning and living, I was learning a whole lot. And I'm realizing now, because I'm operating from a healthier place, how valuable it is for somebody to look you in the eye and tell you the truth. I know a lot of people who make a lot of money doing a lot of things that they hate. I know authors who consult at $1,000 an hour. They are miserable. Their money isn't making them happy. Kids are crazy. They don't like their spouse. They don't like their job. And they're doing it because what else are they going to do? That's why we're seeing this Burning Man culture and, going to the Peruvian rainforest and, man. We need connection, we need healing, and we need to understand who we already are. And that process is going to look different for everybody. I didn't grow up in a Black Power household. I grew up, I didn't understand what was going on. Like, I was utterly unprepared for this system in which I had been dropped. And because I saw myself as successful, because I had the accoutrement of success. I just want to say that. I was miscalibrated. I had a 3,600 square foot house when I was 22. I was single. What the hell did I need with 5 bedrooms? But that goes back to this generational thing. Black folks will spend half their paycheck on their child's birthday party and miss the light bill. Like, there is a reason that we do these things. There are reasons that we adorn ourselves in a certain way, and we neglect the things that benefit us in the long run. And we desperately need to interrogate these things and talk about why these things happen and interrupt those patterns, because we're passing them along. People are watching. The youth is watching. The youth are watching? I have to run that one by my editor. Streets is watching. So much information. Information is everywhere. So I'm certain I haven't answered your question, but it was a great question.
All right.
Who's this guy?
I'm going to tell you right now. June 6, 1990, I published Black History Magazine. Black History is no mystery. It's the history of current events of history. We had circa 200,000, and then we went net, and I got bored of it. But we made money at it, and I still make money at it. BKH Online. It gives you the history of current events of black people and other people. But I gotta pick a bone with you a little bit because I love what you're doing. I'm very proud of it. Some of you in this audience may even have seen the interviews I've done with Halle Berry and Arsenio Hall, and also some history makers like John Lewis, Leon Sullivan, and others. And I like what you said. Everyone breathing here is royalty. Everyone that's breathing here is royalty. So you have to know that your history did not start with slavery. 60,000 years ago, where Kenya and Mozambique are, all of mankind comes from people that look like you. That's from 23andMe. That's the genetics, the ACTs and Gs. So your history, the written history, okay, may have begun 6,000 years ago, but your genetic history is 60,000 years ago. And the middle passage is just one little passage in the heritage that all of you are heir to. We did not come from apes, but Caesar came from us. You understand that?
Absolutely.
And you are thy torch being passed to this generation. I'm so happy you are here. I am so happy you are giving dignity and respect and purpose to this generation. Me, I've kind of made a little money and I kind of fell off. Okay? so I can get to wear these clown suits and just do nothing. But I want you to get a little poor and get out there and encourage people to read about their history, know who they are, even before slavery. Man, there were people before slavery that built all these continents, not just America. Toussaint Louverture, many other people. You have to know these things. And the thing you must importantly know is your history is the mirror of your importance and what you're to do tomorrow.
That's right.
Information.
Now there's a senator, and this senator, he said, he asked the people who asked him, he said, describe the internet. He says the internet is full of tubes and wires and pipes, and if you put too much in it, it might overflow and burst.
It's a true story.
Wait a minute. And guess what his title was? He was the senator in charge of the internet, with all the informationals, and the wires and the tubes and the whatnot bursting. Senator Stevens from Alaska, look him up. Listen, gather your tubes and wires and internets. Gather your tribe with the drum you beat.
Assemble your squadron.
That's what you do.
Thank you.
And I love that, and I just want to say that to you.
Respect. Thank you, brother.
Respects.
I don't know how we're doing for time. I'm having a blast. I don't have any tequila, but we'll fix that later. Yes, please.
I wanted to know, since you came in contact with your troop on your journey on your pathway, I wanted to know, did this enhance your ability to try to find more information as far as your magazine? And I also wanted to know, on your, ongoing pathway, is it gonna broaden your mindset more on your work on your magazine?
It's such a great question. The quality of my life has improved so much by being on this journey. There's nobody on earth who has learned more and benefited more from publishing my magazine than I have. The perspective and the education and the lived experiences of the people who contribute every week to our magazine is unbelievable. I regularly get emotional. I'm a soft brother. I find myself, hey, I know who you are. I regularly find myself emotional when I read this stuff because so many of our contributors, young brothers, are so desperately trying to love ourselves. And when I see how this shows up in different ways in different contexts, I'm able to better relate to everybody. I do a lot of stuff that doesn't involve anti-racism work, Black pride, but I bring that consciousness into everything that I do because my lens and my identity informs the nature of the work that I do. If I were born in a different context at a different time, I would be doing different things. But I'm a black male born in this Western capitalist context, so I build companies. So I build opportunities. So I create income for people who need it, so I can build independent of a system that wants to keep me entrapped. And it wasn't until I'd been on my own for a while that I realized that having a job wasn't just inconvenient or a poor fit. It was deeply limiting to me. And this isn't to say that a job is a bad idea. A job for a lot of people is a great idea. But I had to fly, and I had to crash, and get up again, and crash, and get up again, and we're somewhere on that spectrum. But bringing the perspective from the things that I learn every day into what I do, it just continues to sharpen the sword. And it's an evolution. And in many ways, I'm just beginning. Truly. Yes?
So, I work with, I work with seniors and as well as lots of different generations. And right now, we're living in a time that is multi-generational. I'm going to stand up because I'm so short. Thank you. So, and because it's multi-generational, what I'm finding is that each one has something to give to the other. And right now, we're also living in the biggest gap of generations. So you've got great-grandparents. So in other words, you've got the World War IIers, you've got the baby boomers, got Generation X, you got the Generation Y, and you got the millennials. This is the only time that we've had this many generations together at the same time. And so what you're saying is very purposeful, because what I'm trying to understand is, how do we link those generations together so that there isn't so much disparity in knowledge, in wealth, in understanding, in respect, because there's a gigantic respect gap. Excuse me, everybody.
You're right.
I'm very passionate about this. You can tell. And one thought that I have is, so today I'm riding on the red line, and on this side, there's a group of young people, and over here, there's an older woman, and then there's probably like a middle-aged woman with her cell phone in her hand, and the cell phone is playing music or a video. And the older woman is looking at her like, what is this? And then the kids are, they're doing their thumping or whatever they're doing. And it's just like...
Those damn thumping children. Stop the damn thumping kids.
But our children are lacking. And like you said, our men of all ages are lacking. And our young women, by the way, are lacking because of our brothers being in such turmoil and dissent. Also, the young women are in turmoil because they don't know exactly who they are, because they're watching their brothers go through whatever they're going through, and then they're going through whatever they're going through. And it's like, boy, how can we just all get together? So the reason, what I wanted to ask you is, have you thought during your process at all of linkage, how to link the generation? When you said that we have people from the civil rights movement, which is very true, that are still alive. These people have a plethora of information and experience that we could all garner something from in every aspect. But it's just how to get them together. So.
In many ways, I think this is one of the most important questions that we will answer in our lifetime, because we don't know how to talk to each other. My father relates a story where he learned to drive in those clay streets of Andersonville, Georgia. And his father sat next to him, not saying a word. And I used to find it mostly annoying how challenging it was for my dad to talk to me about the simplest things. You know, he'd get on the phone with me and say, "Not gonna bother you, just got a couple questions." And I've learned to have a lot more sympathy with that because he didn't learn how to talk to another man. The first time my father and I said, "I love you" to each other on the phone was this month. It's not because I grew up lacking love, it just wasn't the way I was raised. I didn't grow up unloved, but I didn't grow up expressing that love verbally. And I desperately want to live the kind of life where that is normalized in my personal relationships. Bless you. And so it was awkward, but I shouted to him, he shouted right back, and we got back to the money. And that's revolutionary in the context of my lineage. And I think little things like that are going to be required. There are a lot of things that people are going through that their parents have been through, that their grandparents have been through. Really ugly and painful things. And I know a lot of people who fly all over the world and travel and, you know, feed babies and work at soup kitchens. The reality is that the hardest thing some of us will do is pick up the phone and tell our parents we love them. Tell our siblings that we apologize. Tell our exes that we are sorry. So the work really does, like, everything goes back to what we need to do ourselves. And when we can have a dialogue with ourselves, we can have a dialogue with the next person. When we can have a dialogue with the next person, we have a shot at healing our communities. And if we heal our communities, you know, we might just change the world. So.